So we are recording now the session. Nikki, thank you very much for letting me to record this, to share this recording with other people, to learn about coaching. And by the end of the session, if you don't want me to share it, it will be okay not to do it. But so you have the choice at the end.
No problem.
So how are you arriving today?
So today I'm in like a little bit of a state of anxiety. I think as I've shared with our class, I'm making the transition from for-profit into kind of higher ed and teaching, and coaching is part of that as well. And so I've been teaching on my own a class this entire semester, and I've had one student who she's that student that doesn't read the instructions, that doesn't really pay attention. She gets it wrong every time. I've been super kind and like trying to help her find it, but she just keeps like not engaging, not turning in the work, not doing what she's supposed to do. And anyway, she ended up getting a bad grade in the class. And I just found out today that she's challenging my grade that I gave her. And so I just feel really annoyed and like really like, how dare you, after I spent all this time trying to coach you through and you know what you did, and that, you know, you're not turning in assignments. Like, I can't give you a better grade if you don't turn something in. So I don't know. I feel really defensive, and I've really taken it kind of personally. And so I kind of need to work through that because I shouldn't take it personally.
So what do you think can be a good outcome if you don't take this personally? What will be different by the end of the session?
Maybe that I have some like kind of coping mechanisms of like when I feel attacked like that, of how I can get back into my logical brain. I've been reading that emotional intelligence book and recognizing that sometimes I respond with emotions. And so ways that I can get back into that rational brain of like, okay, you know, this is probably just a student who wants a better grade and doesn't want to get kicked out of the program. It has nothing to do with you as a teacher and your value as a teacher, but I go straight there.
Yeah. Well, it's great. You already have some insights. So you already are realizing that things are happening to you. So you have a good place to start. What makes that important to you? Why it's important to go over this experience and explore?
I think I'm used to kind of being an expert in a field. I think what I did in my business life, I was really good at. And now that I'm moving into new territory, I feel like I don't have the same level of confidence or like sure-footedness, I think, that I wish I had in my, that I carried with me, right? That I used to have as just part of my identity in being a business person or a consultant. And then now, like just trying to find my way in a classroom and find my new identity as a teacher. And I don't know, I'm just not nearly as sure-footed as I am in my other roles.
It sounds like it's also about embracing this new role as a teacher.
Yes.
From a different place, and what does it take?
Yeah, like who am I? How do I construct this new me with all of the resources that I have, right? Like I have a lot of experience and I have a lot of resources and I have a lot of knowledge, but how do I translate those into this new me and this new space?
And where do you think, Nikki, it's a good place to start exploring that, how to develop this new identity?
I think maybe figuring out why I can't make this jump so well. Like what is making me feel less confident, or what is making, I hate to use the word imposter syndrome because I think it's kind of an overused thing, but in this case, I think a lot of it is that in that like for some reason I'm not feeling qualified and I'm not sure why.
Okay, so what I am hearing is that there are two voices. One is that is asking yourself, well, am I qualified to do this job? And then you have this other voice telling you, well, you are doing everything I can to support the student. So there are
Yes.
like these two different voices. For one part, your
Yes.
insecurity, but the other part is, but I am doing a lot of work. I spend so much time. This is not fair.
Yes. And like, exactly. Like I'm going above and beyond to be a good teacher. I think because I really want to be confident in that. And then this sort of like shakes my confidence. Like, what did I do wrong? Or like, did I not explain something right? Like, I don't know. Like I struggle because if you were to ask me, like, what would you be qualified to teach? I would honestly say, like, I have no idea. But then if you were to give me a list, could you teach policy? Could you teach leadership? Could you teach marketing? Could you teach management? Could you teach financial principles? Like I could teach all of those things, but I don't know. Like here I sit.
Yeah. So going back to the question you want to explore today about your identity, if you had to define yourself, you had to create yourself, what comes for you? What would you say if you want to develop this identity as a teacher? How would you like to show up as a teacher?
I want to create an inclusive space where everyone's perspective is valued and heard.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to be, because it's a graduate level course, I want to be less of an instructor and more of a facilitator, I think. More of a facilitator of discussion, while also giving them the nuts and bolts of what they need to be successful, right? There is an element of teaching that they need because it's kind of an entry-level class where you're learning how to do annotated bibliographies and literature reviews and kind of that academic writing that is new for a lot of people. And so there are some nuts and bolts, but like trying to somehow put it in a context that makes sense for them and that where they're excited about it, right? Like they're not afraid of it, they're not intimidated by it, but like, oh, this is a new tool. I'm going to grab on and learn it and really immerse myself in learning and get them excited about learning. Like that's what I hope that I can do as a teacher.
Well, that sounds pretty comprehensive. You want people to be engaged, you want to facilitate, you want people to feel appreciated for what they bring to class.
Yes.
It sounds like you're following some of the basics of adult development, like, okay, what people need to learn, and these are some of the key elements. So the question for you will be, if you take a step away and you look at yourself working with this student in particular, it sounds to me that you're doing all of that. Are you?
Mm-hmm.
This is a close-ended question, but that's okay. What do you think? How are you showing up with her?
So with her, her first major assignment she turned in, it was a disaster.
Mm-hmm.
And the literature review, it was a mess. And so I gave her the grade that it deserved. And then I sent her a note and said, I would like you to meet with me and I would like to go through and show you an exemplar literature review and walk you through and compare yours to the exemplar and show you what happened and give you an opportunity to resubmit with some rewrites. Because to me, it was more important that she learn how to do it than give her a bad grade. Like, that's not what I'm here for, right? So I spent almost 2 hours with her going through literature reviews and showing her the differences and how to write one and how to put it into perspective of like where a literature review sits within research, right? And she did a resubmit and it was great. And so I thought, okay, maybe I got through to her. And then the next assignment, she ignored the instructions. And then another assignment ignored the instructions. And so I kept telling her, like, you really need to pay attention to the instructions. I feel like you're not understanding what's expected of you in these assignments. And then on the final assignment, it was supposed to be a culmination of all the research that we've done that whole semester on one policy topic. And she turned in the memo on a completely different topic. And then blamed me for not making it clear when everyone else turned in everything on the right topic. So I don't know. It was just,
What is your hypothesis about what's going on? What do you think is happening with her?
so I think, honestly, I think she's out of her depth. I think the program's too hard for her. I think, and sometimes we lose students, right? It's not a fit for everyone. It's a rigorous program. So I honestly think it's too hard for her. And she's not willing to admit that and ask for the help that she needs. She's just blowing through things like she knows it and then turning in what she thinks it is without really looking and paying attention. I was able to go in and look and see, and she spent almost no time reading the assignments. I can see how much time they spend on every page within the course, and she wasn't even spending time in there. So I don't know. It's frustrating to me. And then to blame me and say she didn't know. And then I even gave her another opportunity and said, look, if you submit by midnight tonight on the correct topic, I'll grade it, because that grades had to be in the next morning. And that should have been easy, to write a 3-page memo on something that you'd been researching the entire semester. And she didn't turn it in. And so I gave her a 0. So she ended up with a D in the class. And then the next day, after the deadline had passed, she turned in something that I don't think she wrote. Not a single source from her literature review. So you mean you read, instead of using the research you already had on your literature review, you went and found 20 new sources? Really? In 24 hours? So now I'm in a dilemma where I might have to turn her in for academic integrity issues.
That makes everything more complicated.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, I hear you. I hear your frustration.
Yes. Because when you look at them side by side, they're not remotely close. Not even one single source is the same.
Yeah.
Why would you go get 20 new sources?
Yeah. So going back to you and your experience and your frustration,
Yeah.
what do you think is the best way to relate to this challenge, ideally? So you are experiencing frustration, you don't want to take it personally.
Yeah.
If you would say, okay, this is the mature way to deal with these kind of challenges that you're going to keep having as a teacher, different than what you had before. So these are the challenges you have as a teacher.
Yeah.
Where is the difference, the gap between what's happening to you and how do you think will be an ideal way to deal with this as a teacher?
I think my problem lies in that I want to do a good job and that I really do care about my students. And so I do take it personally, and I am a self-reflective person. So I went back and thought through every single conversation that I had, like, how could she have thought that this wasn't the right topic? I went back through all my slides. Like, did I not say that it was this topic? Like, I almost like took her word for it at first and second guessed myself. Like, oh my gosh, was I not clear? And then I go back and I look and everything is there. And so, but I think it's important that I go through that self-reflection period. I think that's a good thing. But then I think I also have like past trauma from a previous business partner that, like, I get defensive when I know I'm right and I'm being told that I didn't do something. And so I think it's past trauma from that just
it's
comes up.
important that you recognize that because it's a trigger for you.
Yeah.
It's a trigger.
It comes up quick and then it's like, oh no, you didn't. And like, oh, I get so mad. And I think it's not even about her. Now that I think about it, I think it's really about my old previous business partner that, like, it went so terribly badly and ended in litigation. And
so can you see now how that's the reason
yeah,
why I was asking you to put distance and to see when we're in the middle of the situation,
yeah,
difficult to do that. But when you take a step backwards and you look at what's going on, you make new connections, like new insight you're getting now. that you
It's my
think that
PTSD.
is something from the past, and you, as a teacher, you may keep finding yourself in situations that doesn't sound fair. It's not fair.
Yeah.
You know, you have done your job, and then you get that
Yeah.
from the
Like,
other
why did I
side.
get so upset so
Yeah,
quick?
yeah.
Like,
Okay, good. So now that you know that it's not necessarily because of that, because it's something from the past that you bring to the present. If you let that go,
yeah.
and you, in your mind, decide to say, okay, this is the teacher I want to be.
Mhm.
You said already you want to be inclusive, engaging people, valuing their contributions. I wrote down a facilitator. What else do you want to add to this list that may help you in a way of being in the future?
Patient.
Okay, that's an important one.
Yeah.
And what else about patience? When I was asking you this question, I was thinking about some things that other than patient, what else may require from you?
I do want that confidence. I really do want to get to a place where I'm confident in what I need to do, what I should be doing. I think part of it is so new for me that I'm trying to make sure I do all the things, right? I'm trying to be perfect. And I think
Okay.
sometimes I need to just let that go and just
Mhm.
be me and just whatever that is.
Yeah, okay. So that will be one of the things about how to embrace this new activity.
Yeah.
Not looking for perfection, but knowing you're doing a good job.
Yeah.
And it seemed that when you second thought yourself and you went back and look at what you have done and you have done things. So that's a good exercise to say, okay, what may I missed?
Yeah.
Going back and looking, there is a possibility that you missed something. You went back and you check and you didn't miss anything.
Yeah.
So it was something else going on. So
Yeah. I want to be open to that possibility though,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Like
and you did. That's a
that growth.
possibility because
Yeah.
we are not perfect. You know, like
Yeah.
I am also a teacher, so you know that I can relate to what you're bringing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And in terms of the way of being, other than patient, what else would require from you, like with a student, with a participant, like this? What else has a way of being? What else do you want to be for this kind of participant other than patient? Because it sounds like it will require some participants in our classes require more patient than others. So
Yeah.
we cannot be the same teacher for everybody. Sometimes we need to be a little bit different as a
Yes.
teacher based on the needs of our students. So what else come up for you other than patient?
I think as a student myself right now, there are certain teachers that are just really inspiring
Mhm.
and they just really make you want to learn the material.
Mhm.
And so I would hope that I come across as competent and also a little bit inspiring. Like
Yeah.
like maybe they want to learn more or learn more from me, or
Mhm.
you know, they find me valuable, I
Yeah.
think.
And that I think is really a goal for you in a way of choosing your identity as a teacher, a way of
Yeah.
being inspirational,
Mhm.
inspiring people.
Yes.
And we talk about being patient. What else? Being
Uh,
what?
Patient, fair, competent, inspirational. Um, I don't know. I just want to be good at it.
Mhm. Anything else?
I think part of me wants to know that it's the right path for me too.
Mhm.
Like that this is the right way to go and that making this leap makes sense, that it's something that I am good at, that it's something that comes natural to me. And so when I see roadblocks like this, or when I feel that, because to me that felt like rejection almost, right?
Mhm.
And so to me, it's like a rejection or a roadblock makes me second guess this move. And like, am I leaving behind all of my experience and all of my confidence and all of my, I don't know, mojo, I guess, and going into this new unexplored area that's vulnerable and scary and new and a stretch for me and a development, like a lot of personal growth and development. Did I make the right choice? Right? Like it feels scary to me.
Well, that will be another conversation
Yeah,
that we can have
that's the next session.
when you do a little bit more of this work.
Yeah.
Because what I have when I was listening to you, when I was asking you about ways of being, I was looking what may be a blind spot for you, something you may not be seeing.
Yeah.
So if you're not seeing, you cannot articulate it in language. But I was
Yeah.
wondering, and you tell me if I may be right or not, but maybe one way of being too may be more compassionate. More compassionate with a student who may have maybe learning disabilities.
Yeah.
Maybe is there a possibility? Because when I listening to the story about the student, I say, okay, or she has learning disabilities, it's a possibility, or she's lazy,
Yeah.
or what is it? You know, what is the way I was asking you, what is your hypothesis? What's really going on with her?
I think my hypothesis with her, the problem is I was way more compassionate than my boss would have wanted me to be.
Okay.
I let her turn in stuff. I feel like she took advantage of me in a lot of ways because I let her turn in things late. I let her rewrite things that we don't let people rewrite. You know, like I met with her for 2 hours on my time to like kind of show her the way and nurture her and guide her, because I feel like I know, particularly in my case, like I didn't have a lot of role models and women in business and things like that. And so I wanted to kind of try to help her and do whatever I could. And then for her to come back and say that it was my fault that she didn't do the right assignment.
Okay, I hear you. So when I was talking about hypothesis, what makes she do that? There is a possibility based on all of the other students that are successful in the class, is that or she has a cognitive disability, or she may have a mental health issue, maybe a possibility too.
It's possible. I feel like, or she thought, my honest thought was, I think she thought that online might be easy.
Okay. So you were feeling also maybe that she was taking advantage of you, and so that's another layer. That's another layer. Now, going back to compassionate, this is the way I thought about compassionate, because I feel that the compassion was not only towards her, if they have a case of learning disability, that is different if she's taking advantage of you, but also the compassion with yourself. What about this reaction? What about the compassion with yourself?
I don't think I'm very compassionate to myself.
Okay. So there, So there, I think there is a learning opportunity for you.
Yeah. She doesn't have any, we have a whole department where they can get accommodations if they do have learning disabilities and things like that. And none of those, there were none associated with her file. It doesn't mean she doesn't have them, but she didn't ask for them. And so I didn't have to accept anything late. We're not supposed to. And I accepted like 5 things late from her. So like, I even gave her an opportunity to rewrite it on the right topic. Like at some point, I don't know how to help her anymore. And I think maybe that's part of it too. I didn't want to see her fail, because then that to me meant I failed after I put so much time into her.
Yes, I hear you.
You know?
I hear you.
So I think
maybe there is unconsciously another voice that is telling you, she fails, I am failing too.
Yeah, because then I'm failing too.
Is that true?
Well, and that's where my logical brain kicks in and says, it counts the number of times I did all the things and tries to come back and no, here's the line where you said that this was the policy topic. And so my rational brain kicks in and says, you did not fail. But I think my heart feels like I failed.
That's a great insight.
Yeah.
That's a great insight, that you realize that rationally, but emotionally, that's the reason why even you started the session today talking about a little bit of anxiety, that anxiety is a little bit like a fear
Yeah.
of dealing with the situation because of new and different.
And I've had that pit in my stomach all day when I saw the email come through that she's challenging the grade with the dean. And it's like, oh, I've been in a mood all day because it's like, I saw the writing on the wall. I knew she would.
We need to start wrapping up. And before we do that, I was wondering about your confidence. That was one of the things that you want to work on. You want to explore this issue. But at the end of the day, the goal was for you to develop more confidence in dealing with all of this. So what would require, and also about your identity. You talk about identity, we explore who you want to be so you can have more clarity about how you're showing up as a teacher. But in terms of confidence, what else do you think you may need to remind yourself to feel confident?
So I think I really do have to deal with some of the past trauma and let that go, like sit with it and let that go. And recognize that partnership failure, what really, again, like I take things very like self-reflectively. Like I look at my part in everything and like, what did I do to contribute and what did I do wrong? And I think sometimes I take on more of the responsibility than is even there sometimes. And then I think that impacts my ability to not make good decisions, but to see the logical side, right? It makes me respond with the emotions and the defensive side rather than just going straight to, okay, well, let's go look at the numbers and let's be logical and the quant side of my brain, right? Like, let's look at let's look at the data versus how am I feeling about it,
So to be more confident, if you want to answer, if you start a question, or let's say you start a sentence saying, to be more confident as a teacher, I need to, how do you complete the sentence?
To be more confident as a teacher,
I need to
remember that I deserve to be here. That I have the knowledge to be here, that I have the experience to be here, and that I have the passion to help and to teach that's required to be here.
Great. Anything else?
And when I do make mistakes or have issues like this, I can't let it just completely derail me. I have to recognize it as like, it's just one of those parts of work, right? Like every job you have has something that's a pesky customer or something. There's always a complaint, right? Whether it's an employee that works for you or a customer, or in this case, a student, there's always going to be a squeaky wheel. And so you can't please everyone all the time. And I think that's what it comes down to, is my people pleasing.
Okay. Well, you wrote a lot of issues in 20 minutes. Let me tell you.
Maybe I have a lot of issues.
But what is good is that you're aware of that.
Yeah.
So that's what you're talking about, emotional intelligence, that emotional intelligence, being aware.
Yeah.
And in your inner conversation, when you have this part of you that is telling you, okay, you are a good teacher, you're doing everything you are supposed to do, you have the content, experience, and knowledge. And then there is the other piece that is, I am new about this, I'm not sure what I am doing, I may not feel confident about it, I may not be doing good. It's just to pay attention, to be aware of these two voices and say, which one are you going to be paying more attention to or listen more?
Yeah, I feel like I need to tape over the negative self-talk, like tape over that whole internal dialogue that I have and just put something new on that tape.
Yeah, so recognize it. And one possibility is what you just said before. Remember this, what I need to remember to be confident, or everything you said, that can be a good new tape.
Yes. A new tape, that's what I need.
Yeah. So we need to start wrapping up. I would like to ask you, what do you learn about you in this conversation?
I think maybe I need a coach and a counselor. I'm just teasing. No, I think recognizing where emotions come from and what they stem from that aren't related to the issue at hand is really helpful and valuable. I think that was a big kind of aha moment for me here. And then also recognizing that I'm not that compassionate to myself for whatever reason that is. Again, that like lack of confidence, or just hearing all the things that we say to ourselves all the time. And so maybe quieting that voice and not giving it so much power or so much presence, and really finding that quiet confidence that I do belong here as I build my new identity, right?
And in terms of what are you going to do with all of this to finish your day, now that you were all day like thinking about this, what now after this conversation, what do you think is different for you?
I think I'm going to try to let it go. I'm going to sleep on it and just not think about it tonight and just process it. And then tomorrow I will approach my response with just a clear level head and some facts. And this is what happened. These are what the assignment due dates were. This is when they were turned in. This is the grade. Here's the rubric, and just respond very matter-of-factly without any like.
It sounds the conversation will help you to have a response
Yes.
that
Yeah.
is a more effective response.
Yeah. I think it like just to clean up the table first. You know how we center before we start and pack away all the emotions. I feel like that's what I need to do, is just pack away those emotions, pack away the disappointments and those fears of failure, and then just go and respond with the data about the grade.
Any resources you may need, anything you may need to be able to do that?
Yeah, I'm going to talk to my boss about it because I've never had to do one before. And so I'd like her to kind of tell me what is kind of the requirements of how to go through. And she's going to be mad at me for even giving this student so many chances, but that's okay. It's part of who I am. And so I don't like to give up on people. And sometimes that burns me. I get burned by that. And I think that's why another aha moment. That's exactly why I got so upset, because it felt like being burned again.
When I hear you, I'm sorry that you feel that way, like, and I wonder if like every job has a challenge part of the job. It's like, as a teacher, give people low grade; as a leader, let people go. It's like people get to struggle with the.
Yeah, you're going to get the negative, Yelp review or, Amazon review. There's plenty of those out there, right? I mean, it's just you can't please everyone. So I just have to learn not to take that part so personally. It's just part of the job.
And also what you did too is to reflect and pay attention if there are any blind spots.
Yes.
Because there are things we cannot control, but there is a possibility that we may not be seeing something.
Yes, for sure. Yeah. I mean, maybe the instructions need to be rewritten or something like that, and I think that's important too, that like being iterative, like even a version of yourself, right? Being iterative and constantly refining and becoming better.
Any challenges you may have in putting together this letter and wrapping up what you have to do?
I think with the support of my boss, it will be helpful, being able to go through, and I think part of that will be a healing process for me too, to prove to myself that I didn't do it wrong. And then having her say, nope, you did the right thing. That's the grade she deserves. I think that validation will be hugely helpful for me, especially fairly new at this. And, I've never had this happen, and all this, I've been teaching for, I don't know, maybe 2 years, and I've never had this happen. So, yeah.
So it sounds that this conversation may also be a learning opportunity for you. Share the conversation we heard about this experience.
Exactly. And how does she deal with it? And, like, I think maybe also learning boundaries in terms of like, maybe not extending deadlines so much, and not, I don't know, it just goes against who I am. It's hard because I really want people to succeed. So like, and she's tough. She's a tough cookie, and she's been teaching for 30 years. So she's probably got thick skin and she's tough, but it's just really hard for me. I think because I am a student right now too, that like the teachers who are compassionate and who care and who give a little grace and a little leeway are the ones that you really appreciate. And I don't know. That's just who I am. So I have to come to terms with the fact that being that way will sometimes come back to bite me, and that I'm okay with that. I think that's ultimately where I need to get to, is that that if I can be that for 99 out of 100 students, that's okay if I can't be that for the one.
So there is a grade of acceptance and embracing who you are, and knowing that we cannot control everything. Sometimes there are going to be situations that are going to be out of our control. And do you know what, Nick? It doesn't matter if you have 2 years of experience or 30 years of experience. You know, like I find myself sometimes with the same challenges. And this is part of being alive and working with other people and relating to other people. So
relationships and all of that. It's
that's
true.
part of it.
Yeah, I think acceptance is ultimately the answer. That you're not going to please 100% of the people 100% of the time. Well, now my work is done. I can go have a glass of wine.
Sounds good to me. How would you like to finish this session?
No, I appreciate it. I feel prepared now that like it just is what it is at this point, and I can let the anger and the emotion go, and just the only other option would be for me to be different, and me being different in the classroom is not, that's not the teacher I want to be. So I'm okay with it now.
Good to hear. Thank you for all of your work in this session, for being so open and vulnerable and reflecting and going deeper. So I appreciate that very much. Is it okay still to use this recording?
Yeah, absolutely. We're all family in our class.
Great. Thank you very much. Let me stop the recording here.